Let me see if I can do something. Yeah. I'm just pulling up a crazy color wheel. No matter. Okay, so I'll just look at this way. No, I don't want it like that. There we go. We got a color wheel, yeah, boy. Okay. No, sadly. Yes. Okay, guys. Alrighty. So, welcome back, everybody. Nice seeing you. How y'all doing? What's new? Just being hot, yeah. yeah. If you're out there painting in this weather, you're a badass. That's awesome. I did forcefully. I was at least paid hourly. But it was so dreadfully hot. But because it's so hot, that paint dries so quickly. You can paint really thick right now in the sun and let it dry within a minute, and you can do a second layer, third layer. You can have a lot of fun with some really thick paint in this heat. Yeah. So this last week's challenge was to buy a fish and paint it with a friend, and then eat it. Did anyone do that? Oh man.
I passed on that shell today.
Huh?
Prepare fish.
I know.
I only know how to prepare a fish fillet.
Yeah, I've never. It's been a while since I've like gutted a fish and stuff. But I think, yeah, you could probably buy like little sardines or something. Oh man, missed opportunity, guys. Oh, you did? Oh, look at that. That's awesome. Can I show it off? All right. What was your name? One more time. You don't have to go. Oh. I know. I guess I don't want to force anyone to do it. These are art challenges, you know. You don't have to do them.
Yeah, no.
So if you're uncomfortable, don't. Here, we can check it out. Show the class. So here we have some salmon of hers. Really amazing. I love this. You got that negative space there. You're not using any white. You're just painting in all that red right there, right? That's great. And really great shading. I love these patterns. So it's like these little scales, kind of like what we were drawing with. Really fine. And that wet on wet over here. Really nice. And the blood. I know. So you had this in front of you and you were painting it? No. Okay, good. Good. I didn't want to force you to buy a fish. Yeah. But it's so cool seeing you kind of using that wet on wet. This is watercolor? Lovely. That's great. This is really nice. I love the texture going on here. Really cool. These look like they're very fast. Did you like not in a bad way, very expressive and quick and
The picture was lying flat.
yeah. So cool. So fun. Well, great work. I like the shine on here. It's that difference of value here. It's really dark and it's really light here. Really nice. Cool. Wonderful work. So exciting. Well, yeah. So if you guys are interested, this next adventure is to visit a garden or your own backyard garden, draw or paint a simpler version of what you see. So, things to think about, things to have fun with. Yes. So, where are we going with this? All right. So today, we're going to be doing some bushes and greenery and shrubs and the variety of greenery that you have out there, and also some different techniques, starting and looking for light and shadow. So let's get into it. So I'm gonna have my paper out here, watercolor paper. So we'll be jumping right into painting today. Yes, ma'am. Or if you have gouache, that's ideal. Yeah. Nice. Little spritzer. Yeah. If I need another one. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, you can buy them anywhere. Yeah. Like little travel size stuff. You can get it at at Walmart, at Target. Like look in the travel section. That's where they have these little guys, or you could reuse whatever they have in there. If you guys are using watercolors, it's a good idea to spritz it down with the spray before you get started. So I think this first way I'm going to be painting a bush, this is going to be for you watercolor artists out there. Yeah. So that's for to go. So if you guys are still wondering, you have a small little watercolor sketchbook, something like of this size or smaller. I put it in the thing. This is for you to be painting when you're out on the go. You can fit this in your pocket, and when you walk by places that are real cool or see a beautiful sunset, that's for you to paint. So all this can fit into some small little bag. You could even get little, gallon Ziploc bag if you want. Like this week, I saw a sunset over at San Pedro. It's very similar to the stuff that we've been doing. Yeah, good some. And then I was like drawing in it too. I was drawing a whole bunch of people who were enjoying it. This guy, it was so windy, he had his shirt over his head. But he looked so funny. It's like some little boy pulling his sister's arm. Or like a couple sitting and stuff. Saw cars parked. Just having little observations when you're out in the world. Having this little sketchbook is so special, and it's so great to kind of stop and pause and just enjoy what's around you and to jot it down. Try to draw it down. Just kind of like taking note. It's not even anything special. It's just kind of these doodles. So if you haven't used this yet, I really urge you guys to go some nice places or wait in a long line somewhere. Pull it out of your pocket. So I hope your materials don't go to waste. They need to be used. Okay, so bushes here. I'm gonna pull up some images here. So I have some images that I saved on our Pinterest that I've shared with you guys. I got some really amazing gouache paintings here. Maybe we can be a little inspired by. Super cool. Can everyone see it okay on the TV? Yeah? Okay, cool. So this is very rocky. I don't see any bushes, but there's still, you know. You can call it abstract. You can call it. I mean, if you look at anything close enough, it's abstract. So the act of painting itself is abstract. This is pretty amazing. This is Mike Hernandez, art director in the animation industry and a plein air artist who loves painting with gouache. I love those animators out there who are doing plein air, really amazing works out there.
So with gouache, you can paint both on paper and on canvas.
This is all on paper.
Only paper.
Yeah, this is all on paper. In fact, this is on toned paper here. You were using toned paper on yours, which is pretty nice. I kind of wish I did that, but here we are. You can tone your own paper. But you can see here, when we're looking at bushes and shrubbery, kind of see how much simplified you can get. Like, you don't need all of the bushes or branches. You don't need the leaves. You can just use the texture that the paint is doing. Kind of goof around with it. And it does some really interesting things. But you can really see that there's huge blocks of shadow in here. Huge little slices of light popping through here. Some of these shadows have a bit of purple in them. Some of these shadows have a bit of cooler greens, maybe even some white in there. Maybe grays in there. So there's a lot of variety here, but yeah. So if your work ever feels like everything's mushing together, it's really important to have both shadows and light in there, and that these lights can kind of separate those layers here. So it's good to have variety in there. Really cool work. I want to show this one too. This one blew my mind. I'll end with this one, and then we'll get to painting. So if we look here,
I love that. It's gorgeous.
it's awesome. He's painting with these beautiful line of color here, and he's got his brush loaded up with multiple colors, multiple blues, grays, and maybe bits of black, But these are mostly pure colors. And you see this snow here? What color is that? Yeah, it's like a lilac. It's like a purple. It's not white, right? Because it's in the shadow. So kind of have to kind of pay attention to that stuff. And keeping things dark like this will make these brighter bits really stand out. And also something to really pay attention to is the direction in which these brush strokes are being placed. He's painting them up and down, each one of these brush strokes being basically like a rock or two. Very minimal, slow, thinking about each brush stroke. Taking just one, that's good. Just letting things be. And then when you get down into the grass, you see it kind of following the horizon there. It's kind of breaking things up a bit too. There's these big blocks of color that are layered. And he's throwing some flowers and stuff on top. done some water before, so you know that's just like kind of a reflection, rough reflection of what we see up above. Maybe a touch of that rock there. Super cool. But let's break it down here. We'll start with just one bush, and then we'll go to like whole gardens. We'll get to maybe doing this little painting here. Make this a painting. All right. So I took actually some pictures right before I got here. I saw a beautiful bush right in the front. So I took a picture of it. So I'm just gonna work from that. If you want to, you're welcome to stand outside and paint it. But this guy, too perfect for me not to paint. Isn't that so perfect? This is what we'll be painting today. So, in fact, let me share it. I need to post it on here so everyone can have it. Come on. Shoot, sorry guys. Gosh, it's so much easier to do it on my phone. Okay, please hold. Huh? No. Pin. There we go. Okay, good. Bush. Okay, cool. Pins. Save. Okay, cool. Done. Alright, cool. So that should be in the Pinterest now, so you can check it out there. Right. So again, with that link, go to the Pinterest, and then it's going to be up there. That's too perfect. How to do it? Yes, or Canvas, which should be connected to your email. Okay, but I'm going to have it up on the screen too. Okay, so I wanted to talk about a little bit of what green is. Basically, if we look at the color wheel here, it goes from basically here all the way to about here. And this is the actual color wheel here. So it's roughly, maybe it stops about here. So it's almost like a quarter of all the colors that we see. There's so many variations of green. There's green that has a bit of yellow in it. It's like very kind of olive green. There's green that's very like apple green or like very bright green. And then we have like greens that are like really blue, closer to cyan. That's what the phthalo blue is, or turquoise, however you want to say it. Cyan if you're all about printing. We had a printing engineer here for a little bit. I'm sure he loved the cyan. And so that's a big size here of this bush. Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm slacking off here. All right. So this is just one bush out of many. And it follows roughly the same idea of any kind of object in light. I'm just going to kind of draw an example thing here, and then I'll do a bush over here. So let's just say we had a ball. I've drawn this ball a million times. I'll probably draw it a million more times. And let's say you had the light shining down on this ball. You always want to think about the light and how is it hitting that ball. And wherever the ball is and wherever the light is, whether it's more in front of it, you can kind of find that, oh, this is the part that the light hits really hard, or maybe it's over here. But you can kind of imagine some rays of light shining down. And so wherever those rays hit, I mean, this light's really close to it. Maybe it's all the way up in the sky, so maybe it's more like straight down. So the sun's forever away. You can see that there will be a shadow here, because this is on a flat plane. So it mostly makes an oval-like shape. If you're advanced, guys, feel free to jump ahead. Now, you can kind of imagine an ant walking around this ball. Maybe it walks up and down over here. Maybe it walks over here. Maybe it walks over here. But it always kind of travels in an oval in different ways. Now, if I was to have an ant that walks around just at the point where the light ends, and I know that this is the brightest part over here, then this is going to be an oval here. So, and see what happens here. This is all going to be shadow now. So all this area here, that's all going to be in shadow. All this area over here is going to be in light. And if you look in nature, like this big old plant here, you'll see the same thing happen, except now it's kind of a weirder shape. But if you squash it down into a ball, you still see that really bright area over here dissipating, 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 and then it gets to this area here that's on shadow. And that's what the artist was doing. He was just elaborating that single line that you see, defining the shadow area and the light area. And then maybe he touched up the light area. So there you go. And then, of course, where it's touching, we learned about this last week. That's the really, really dark area. And then this is all shadow in there. Questions? It's kind of straightforward. All right, let's do this bush here. So we're going to try to find kind of the middle color of this bush here. So I'm going to use a pretty big brush. This is 1-inch square brush. You're welcome to use a rounder brush if you have it. These brushes are really great, where it's like a little rounder. It's a filbert. These are really awesome for bushes. not the color we're wanting to do for this bush. We're wanting to do a color that's a tone down. Why do you think we do that? Anyone? Yeah, but how would they be highlights if it was the same color, right? Those highlights need to go on something darker, something murkier. So this bush might start off as something kind of murky and blech, and then when we throw on those highlights on top, then that's where the brightness comes in. If you're working with just watercolor and you have no gouache to cheat, you might have a hard time with that. All right, let's get into it. Yes. It's very similar to acrylics. Yeah, in that aspect. I'll show you both methods. So I'm going to find a color that's kind of in the between here. So I can kind of, I'm going to zoom this out. Take some time for me to kind of get acclimated. Yeah, so let's just say I got some of this bright green. Now this bright green is like really bright. It's like kind of in the back end area over here. So if I threw this on my palette here and I wanted to tone it down, I want to make it murky, that's when you start thinking about complementaries. And so when we look at our color, which right now I kind of have like this yellow-green kind of colors, can I mix with it to murk it down? It's any of these kind of colors over here in this area. And so that's when you just kind of look at the bush and you're like, what could it just use just a little bit of maybe that red-orange? That red-orange being this bright red here, so maybe I'll just touch it. I could also get the burnt sienna. I'll kind of mix that in there. Nice and murky, maybe a bit of water. More green. And I kind of dance between this. So we want to make a nice murky middle tone color. That's not too dark, not too light. And you can add some yellow to it because green. Basically just yellow and blue. Okay, throw that yellow in there. The yellow is brightening it up, but it's also making it really strong. Looks good. Maybe just a touch of water. You gotta go easy on the water. Alright, that looks good. And then now you can kind of play with the shape here. Now again, this is your painting. So it can be any shape you want. So why not make it a nice geometric kind of shape going on here. It's a nice murky green. Isn't that nice? And I can get some water while it's still wet. Go on top of it just to kind of lay it down nicer. Yeah, this is dry paper. Yeah, I was brightening it up with some yellow. I don't brighten it up with white because white pretty much weakens the color, weakens the saturation. But the yellow will make it stronger because it's a pure hue. Watercolors, I would be starting, unless you had the gouache to kind of, yeah, so it would probably be like the really light, the lightest of the light colors, and then you add in like layers, so you go from light to dark to darker. So yeah, you kind of have to figure it out a bit. No, you can't. if you're using, I should have done watercolors first. So if you're doing watercolors, you gotta do the lightest light. So probably closer to that yellow. Look at that really bright rim. All right. So moving on down, I'm gonna start. After I do that kind of middle tone, I like to do the shadows here. So I got a darker green here, which has some blue in it, but it's really bright. So I'm just gonna add just a touch of that black. Ease in that black. And we get kind of the darkest dark. There we go. Now I like adding a bit of blue because in my shadows, just because shadows have reflected light in it and reflected things in it. So I added a bit of blue to that green. Now I'm going to think about where's that light coming in? How is it casting? Where is that line that I'm looking at? It can look different for everybody, but I'm just going to kind of just throw it down just one brush stroke. And of course, think about that kind of contact shadow there. Since we're blocking things in, I might as well block in the shadow behind it and in front of it. And that contact shadow, absolutely dark. That's the only point where I get those pure blacks in there. This here, that's just pure black. Oh, it's so hard to see on the screen. You can really see it there. So I just did one brush stroke here, because that's just what I saw. Try to simplify it like that. It doesn't need to be a da 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 da. I say da 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 da. That's for later. And since we're only doing one bush, I'm going to worry about the da 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 da. But if I'm doing a whole landscape where there's 1,000 of these, it's a little less important. That's why I showed you that artist on Pinterest, when he did 1,000 bushes, he didn't really do the da 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 dots. In fact, I probably won't do it for this one too. I'll show you what I mean. Yes, I have a little bit of black, but the darkness mostly comes from mixing that complementary color. So complementary colors is anything on the other side. So green, opposite of green is red, Christmas colors. Opposite of blue is orange. Cal State Fullerton. I don't think so. Halloween's like purple and orange, which I guess is far enough to get murky. Like if it's even close to being on the opposite side, it will murk it down in interesting ways. Which is really important if you want to have something be super vibrant and beautiful in your painting. You need to have huge splotches of muck to let those bright moments shine. Absolutely necessary. Some of the best paintings have the muckiest colors. Hello. Okay. Alright, so moving on. So I got the shadows. Now I can move into the lights. So now I can just kind of start in maybe some yellow here. And, you know, I don't like just plain out of the tube stuff. I just threw it in my palette, which has a bit of blue in it. So it's pretty bright. I'm not going to go straight to the brightest bright, but if my brush is dry, where's my paper towel? I'll be back. Always forget. So, like sucking up the moisture in my brush here, pulling in that yellow, I'm mixing it in with some of that blue here. And when I go really lightly over my bush here, ooh, I'm gonna get more yellow. So this is where your cheap paint might have a hard time getting that yellow on top of that paint there. That's just the way things go. So what a trick you can do is adding just the smallest amount of white. I know I said white will kind of kill that color, but if you just add even the smallest amount, it will help with the transparency. No, opacity. It'll help with the opacity. So opacity, we know what that is. No? Okay. Yeah. So opaque, anyone want to tell me? Or your fellow students? Yeah. So it's like a wall. Transparent is like a window where you can see through it. And different colored windows will change the way you see through it. Whereas walls, it's the color of the wall. That's the way it is. So, alright. So I got a bit of white in there. Maybe I'll even add a bit more. And bam. Kind of add some of those shapes there. Maybe I'll even kind of scratch in some stuff. Ooh, I like it. I always do this. I always kind of scratch into the stuff. And it's kind of important to kind of, with bushes and stuff, sometimes twigs will poke out of shadows. And that's like some good little moments to kind of throw in some of that stuff. See, this is where that kind of rounded brush will really shine. If you have one of these, this is good too. We'll do more of these. Yeah. All about it. Ooh, yeah. Kind of doing that tap, tap, tap kind of thing. It's a very Disney way of doing things. Your Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, looks good. And you know, I could probably add some like little twigs or something with small brushes. Maybe some leaves. It's about kind of getting some of those variations in there. I think I put too much yellow in there.
Are you using black or dark blue?
Put too much bright yellow in. I think it should have been darker. So sometimes I'll just make things darker again. And then get in with that brighter color. Let's see. Oh, that's much better. Yeah. It's that importance of contrast. course, if I wanted to make that brighter without painting over the whole thing, and if I'm looking at the image here, I can make the background darker. I think I'll do that real quick. So, if we look at the background here, look at the kind of colors we have here. It's not so much looking for the colors, it's looking for those values. And we know that it's desaturated. We don't want a really bright blue, but it is definitely a blue background. We can have a bright blue if we want to. Add some white to it. How would that look? Okay, that looks pretty good. So I can kind of paint that background because I know that's the kind of middle color. Just like we did with the bush here, we kind of found that middle color. I'm finding that middle color back here, where everything kind of has that kind of tone to it. And if I kind of bring in just a little bit to the point where that white area, kind of hovering around it, it'll look like it's well lit. Maybe I'll get it a little wet first, so everything kind of blends together a little bit better. This has some dark blue to it. Now if that blue is too rich, the ultramarine blue and that burnt sienna, we've played with it before, gives you just a great little shadow color, but maybe play around with some other colors too, you know? Throw in some other random colors that you have in your palette. Okay. I'm getting so carried away. That's too wet. I gotta wait. Do the same thing with the grass over here. Kind of finding that middle kind of color. It's puddling, too much water. There you go. Looks good. So sometimes these things have more blue in it. So it's good to kind of work in layers. So I'm seeing a lot of kind of tones in these leaves, so maybe they'll be more white than yellow. Because white's kind of got some kind of bluish tones here. Let's kind of start. See, it's just too light. Make it darker. That's better. Get that lot of white, very little yellow. Yeah, it's better if it dries. Just get so carried away. I'm just playing the waiting game. Still moist. Okay, I'm gonna try it out now. Got some white with a little bit of yellow. And there we go. You can kind of see how I like to kind of get my brush, kind of whip it up a bit. Very dry. I don't know. Make sure you don't have too much paint on your brush. The less paint you have, the thinner the lines. You don't need much. You definitely want to keep some space. And throw some really long weeds in there, some really short weeds. You'll go white and blue as well. Just a bit more variety in there. I don't know. doing? Hmm. Well, it's all it's very similar to stippling in a way, where it's just kind of random. I start at the top, work my way down, so that each of these brush strokes can kind of overlap sometimes. Get uh, a random large leaf in there, and just kind of break up that pattern. You don't want to have too much of a pattern. I mean, unless you want it to really read as a pattern. You see, I can do like small, 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 big, skinny, small, 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 zigzags. Kind of play around with it. I'm using cheaper paint, so if people are using the nicer paint, you'll have a nicer time, but you might have to go over this a few times. To get it really bright. And if you want to add some like little dash and dots of pure white here and there, like that, just the smallest amount will go a long ways. Kind of holding off on that pure white and putting it in the just smallest amounts. I'm just kind of tapping this kind of little tiny square brush here. So that the paint's kind of set down and kind of peaks. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so I think we'll work on this for another 10, 15 minutes. I'll kind of come around and see how you're doing, and then we'll do the next painting. Sounds good? Sure. Yeah. I'll go ahead and lower the. There you go. Sure. Let me know for sure. Should be better. I'm gonna come around. Anyone need help? I'm gonna come there first. I'm gonna come around. So if you want to come take a closer look, I don't want to move it.
You gotta show how the watercolor is made.
Alright, so if we look here, you have that line of shadow there. Yours has a line all the way up here,
Yeah.
so there's no area for the lightness to shine through over here.
Oh, yeah, true.
So that's what you need to have. So, and then down here, like this is a good shadow color that you already have here. So this is good enough for shadow. And then down here, look how dark that is. See how bright? Keeping it really light here because it's for the it's really shining through.
Yeah. So, how do I do that? Put a little bit more green and then like whites and stuff, or
To make things lighter,
yeah.
you use lighter colors.
Oh,
So I would say
okay.
more bright yellow. You could add in, and then save white for last. I mean, you can mix in white where you think you need it.
Okay.
Just
I'm trying to see what colors, because I don't have all those colors
yeah, I
in
mean,
mind.
it's okay. I mean, just know that yellow and blue makes green.
Yellow, blue, mixed green, okay.
Yellow's very bright.
Yes.
Blue is good for shadows, but you need to kind of be good with the mixing so you got them kind of murky shadow. So I'm using a lot of like white and yellow, really bright white colors.
The bottom. It almost looks like a bluish white. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, I have a lot of blue in there. Honestly, really more yellow, but this is what I'm seeing.
How do you decide what I want to say?
Yeah, that looks good. Just start at the top and then work your way down. Right, a bit of yellow in my body. I think we're coming along well. I know it's like so much pressure. It does look like a big Okay, cool. Yes, yes. Yeah, sure. That sounds good. Sorry. Yes. Let's go take a break. Take a quick 15-minute break. We'll be back at 2:30. So grab yourself some water. Grab yourself whatever you need. Snacks. I don't know.
Do they sell anything besides water over there?
I don't know. You'd have to go see. My water. So we'll take a quick break. Yeah.
Alright. So this is the paint in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, that thing's great. I mean, this is for gouache. So I would suggest getting this. Is that still on the list?
No.
Oh, okay.
I kind of like that. I'm not keeping up with the site.
Right. So the issue with that, if you're gonna be using gouache, is that it's all gonna dry. I had one of those. I used it for a while, and it doesn't work the same. Like to get this cool kind of chalky, gloppy kind of texture that gouache looks great with, it's impossible. It's gonna look like watercolors, and it's gonna look like less good watercolors.
It stays wet.
Yeah. Yeah. So it stays wet in this. It's really small. I mean that thing is a little bit bigger. And then you know.
Is that I could do both.
Yeah, I mean, you could easily get something like, you know, I don't know, bam. It's a little pocket mix. So, you know, you can carry around something like this pretty easily for a palette, you know? So it's basically the same thing as that.
I did find one of those.
What, these?
One of those ones.
These?
Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, if you're going to be going out and painting or at church listening to your pastor if you go to church, I mean, I don't. Yeah, Let's go.
Are we starting or just everybody started?
Huh?
Are we starting?
Yeah, we're gonna be starting. So let's. Oh wait, oh these are. Okay. Here, we'll do this little thing. That looks cool. Let's do that. Alrighty guys, let's get to it. So we're gonna do this little garden over here, which has a lot of shadows, and I'm gonna be using watercolors here for the watercolor people out there. Alright, so I have a new paper out for painting here. Yeah, it's just like somebody's little garden here. It's a little overgrown, but it's yeah. So it's crazy. It's crazy. I'll send this link in the chat. There we go. So you guys are watching on YouTube, on your phone or whatever. I just sent the link. Alright. Can draw with us. Years.
I found your, I clicked on your email and nothing came through.
Okay. Interesting. What's this? Okay. What are you needing from the link?
Where to get the syllabus and all of this stuff. But I said, don't click on the link.
Did you click on the links?
I clicked on your email and there's nothing like you downloaded.
So it's not downloaded. You have to click on the links on the email. Okay, guys. Let's get into it. started here. I'm gonna go ahead and actually use pencil here. This is gonna be for watercolors. Actually, forget about pencils. I'm gonna do pen. I'm gonna have some fun with some pens here. Hmm? Yes, yes. Or at least it's waterproof. You could use a ballpoint pen if you didn't have a micron, but this will look much better. All right, cool. Okay. Huh? Mm-hmm. So yeah, but we're gonna get real scribble here. We're gonna have some fun. Yes, yes, yes. So this is kind of the style here. Mm, yeah. Well, this is all about embracing like the imperfection. That's all. That's what this is all about. So this isn't about doing botanical perfection drawings. This is about kind of being a little expressive, a little more loose, having a little more fun with it. But I'm gonna do kind of a continuous drawing here. And when I start this, I always like to start with the biggest shapes here, which would be the big container. And every time I kind of bump into something, I'll kind of draw it, and then I'll keep going. Just kind of have a continuous line going. And when things get crazy, I mean, really, this is where you really want to look for the shapes, right? So if we looked here, and if we just look for what is the shape of the shadows here, what is the shape of those bright areas? These bright areas, you can kind of simplify them to maybe these kind of like bumpy little triangular things. Can you see my mouse kind of bouncing around things? So this is all kind of shadows here. So I'm not really too worried, and maybe I'll add in some details later on. But just kind of get those outlines first, and then you can kind of add in a few little strips and stuff. So I'm just gonna kind of go for it. Again, you can have it be a little inspired. Doesn't need to be perfect. So I'm gonna look at that angle there, draw out, and I'm just gonna keep my pen down and just be pretty fearless with it. Straight line, bumpy leaf here. Now I'm all about just kind of finding some random little shapes here. There's no, as long as you're having fun with it, it will come out good. So just kind of goof around a bit. Which one? Oh, the one that I'm painting or drawing? Yeah. So I generally look at this line here. I mean, mine's really crooked, but again, embracing those imperfections and see where they're coming from. What is going on here? What's this? Oh, I see what's going on. I'm drawing the little shapes over here, kind of some lines. So, good way to kind of, see what details are important is by blurring your vision, squinting your eyes, and kind of draw down those shapes, that you see there. have a little fun with it. And when you look at like the detail and stuff, don't worry about the detail. Just worry about those big blocks. Where are those shadows? Where are those outlines going to be? So I'm really looking at those brighter bits in there. Kind of doing these kind of curves and stuff. I'm kind of making it up too. And I see, patterns of straight lines. I see patterns of rounded lines and curves.
Are you
Next,
using the same thickness of lines throughout, or
yeah,
and
I'm not lifting my pen at all. And I'm looking at big shapes here. This is totally possible. It just doesn't have to be good. Because this is a big mess of plants. If you look at it right now, it looks like a bunch of scribbles. So just getting down a bunch of scribbles on there is totally valid. That's what it looks like. So kind of have some fun with it, And I'm just going to kind of embellish on the pretty things and kind of ignore some of the not so pretty things. So these flowers I love. Maybe I'll make them bigger. I see things hanging over that I really like. Maybe I'll have more hanging over things. There's big areas of shadow over here. Maybe I'll kind of just block those in and just focus on those plants that are shining through the shadows.
why do we do it with a pen like this instead of pencil?
Because this just kind of lets you commit with things. Having that kind of commitment where you're like, I don't care what's going to happen, I'm just going to keep going, is really freeing and liberating. And it makes it more fun to create. So, and this forces you to kind of pick, what things are going to be important in your drawing. Take things out that aren't going to be so important.
This looks really cool.
It's just give it a whirl. I'm looking at shapes in the plants. I mean, it really, you should be looking at the picture more than your actual drawing. That's just the power of looking. It's just pay attention. Just look. Look at those shapes. Remember how we looked at the negative shapes in the sky of the clouds? Same deal with the shadows. What kind of shapes are in the shadows?
I'm not even looking at the paper at all. It's too distracting if you can't.
Yeah. You really have to just focus on the paper here. Oh, this is good. I'm liking this. This is fun. This one's gonna be a little more abstract. But as I said before, every painting's a little abstract.
Like, yes, the
gonna do it the watercolor way. So if you guys want to pay attention to that, if you want to continue um, doing it the same method as the gouache bush that we just practiced with, you totally can.
Does watercolor use the same little paint? Like
No, with watercolor, so with watercolor, guys, I'm gonna let it dry a bit so it doesn't smear. It should be good. But I think I'm gonna use this big brush because I'm now painting bigger. Because I have a bunch of paint material to use here. Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's just a little mulch texture. I'm just like kind of scribbling some random little dits and doodads, some scribblies, some rounds, some zigzags. Just adding some texture to the area. And I'm not doing everything, I'm just doing a little bit. If I did everything, it's not possible. But it would. I'm trying to simplify, not complicate. That's the best part about art is simplifying. All right. Let's do this. Let's see. Does this sound good? Okay. Okay. All right. So when I do my watercoloring for this painting here, no longer are we working from that middle tone to shadow. Again, if you are using gouache, water down your paints. It will act very similarly. And I'm going to actually create before I even get to painting. So I have my paints here, and I have some little areas for me to mix my colors. Maybe not this one. That'll work. And I'm going to pay attention to the lights first. So I got all my yellow here. Kind of add a nice puddle of yellow. So the trick to getting a consistent color, so let's say you had a really large area of a really bright color. So like let's say a wall that is red or is a very specific brown that you want to get. You want to make sure that you get a nice puddle prepared so that you can get a very consistent color. So if you were adding more more water to your paint, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah. So, and that's like a thing that you want to do just muscle-wise, is when you're painting, you're like, oh no, I'm running out of paint, just add some water, spread it out. It's going to make it weaker and make it a little blotchy, which is interesting. But if that's what you don't want, then that's not good. So I got some yellow here, so maybe I'll throw in some green here. So this will be kind of like the brightest color here. So I'll get my highlights here. Throw in some extra green. Alright, that's a nice lime looking green. Let me get those like middle tones here. Here we go, middle tones. So this green is too bright for those middle tones, I think. So I'm going to throw in a little complementary action. Complementary of green. Anyone? Red and what else? Yeah, kind of like orangey. Looks good. I think I'm going to do this brown here. This burnt sienna. This using those complementaries with your colors. It's really nice. And when we're trying to get shadows, blue's kind of a good go-to for shadows. I mean, this little ink set here doesn't have any black, so I like to use this blue here for shadows. And if you use kind of this darker brown here, mix it in, it's really close to black. See that? So that's the ultramarine blue with this. I think this is burnt umber. It's a darker brown. See, that's not nearly enough paint though. So maybe a bit of water. See, that drier brush can soak up all that paint there. I kind of squeeze it out too, because I'm using such a big brush here. Oh my. Okay, so I got my 3 colors. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside so I can start painting. Now, if you have flowers in here, I say avoid them. If I see white areas, like the top parts of these leaves here, avoid them. Or, yeah. So, my brush real quick, and then I'm going to get my paper nice and wet. No worries. See you next week. Alright, so I'm going to get some water here, and I'm going to get the whole thing nice and wet. Avoid any puddles. If you see puddles occurring, I'm going to get the whole thing wet. Yeah, the whole thing. Nice and even.
What brand water paints do you have?
This is Winsor Newton.
Are they better than my mug?
I don't know. But Winsor Newton's pretty standard among all artists. You go to college and stuff, they'll be like, just get Winsor Newton. That's basically, yeah, it's very standard. Alright, so I'm looking at it, tilting it certain ways, make sure it's not too wet. It is really wet. So maybe I'll really dry brush on it. If you have a sponge, that's what a sponge is for. I don't have a sponge. Just got really. Oh. Looks good. Alright, I'm going to start off with the highlights here. So I'm going to get that bright green that I made, and I'm just going to kind of touch it in. Oh boy, they are weak. Maybe I'll even make it more strong, adding some more colors in there. Okay. Some bright green over here. Bright green over here. Yeah, yellow. It's basically yellow, yeah. It's okay if it's, not perfect. Just kind of look for those areas. It's okay if it bleeds out more. There we go.
Is that up here yellow or does it have some green in it?
It does have some green in it, but it's like barely any. In fact, maybe I want some more green in it. Whatever, I'm going to start with some yellow. Just in those really bright areas. I mean, some of these plants have less yellow in it, so I'm going to not have it just absolutely everywhere. Oh, what the? Okay. Interesting. Wait, I'm into that. Okay, sorry. Accident, but I'm into it. Alright, cool. So I'm avoiding any of those flowers there. Bit of yellow over here, yellow over here. very scribbly with it. Cool. All right. Now I'm going to move over to my middle tone here. And this is where I'm going to kind of push in some of that middle tone. So, again, squinting your vision there. Now we're going from light to dark. So now I'm just kind of moving my way down, covering things up. See that green there. So this is just kind of like the first layer here.
I guess I just a little bit closer.
Thank you guys. I don't know what I would do without you. Hey, John.
Oh, really?
Any of those little spots of light, just paint around those. Kind of let them shine there. You can use any of these random little squiggles in here to turn it into something you're wanting to see here. Right now it's pretty light still, so it's looking really nice. I am enjoying this. And the thing with the watercolors is it's all about layers. And kind of layering on those complementaries is a really quick way to get it really dark. That's why when my finger had a bit of red on it from the gouache, I was like, ooh, I'm not upset with that. And once I get to the shadow areas, kind of blast it. But there's some spots where I know kind of drawn down. Oh boy. Dang, is that the sound of focus? Kind of wipes them away, or if you got a dry brush around, you can also soak some of that paint up while it's still wet. Alrighty. I'm going to move on to my darkest color here. Now, the darkest color right now is really not that dark, so I'm actually going to get more complementary in there. Get some more that red or that burnt umber. Yeah, that's better. And as long as it's darker, it will work. You can go for that burnt umber, you can go for that blue. Blue is definitely kind of a go-to for a lot of people. Don't let it puddle. Go darker than you think you need to go in the shadows there. That's way too wet, so I'm going to go suck it up. And don't don't expect it to get to that color right away if you're using watercolors. If it's still wet, you know, you kind of need to let it sit and, you know, maybe do another layer or so. You know, kind of blur your eyes a bit. Really block in those shadows. Just really focus on the shape of the shadows and get those shadows. Yeah, I got all sorts of different colors in there. So this is where you can kind of have some fun with colors. It doesn't need to be those precise colors. You just want it to be darker. And pay attention to how that wet paper is interacting with the paint. It does come alive. It does keep moving when it's wet. So a line that you think is going to be neat, that's going to come out really thick. I'm kind of using that advantage in these really round areas of the bin. Again, yeah. Using that other brush with just some water here, kind of extend some things. When it gets too dark, see I have this area over here kind of bleeding over. Get that brush and check it out. I'm just sucking up that water. That's real bright now. I can kind of squeeze out all that moisture, suck up that paint. Go. This green, I could probably start working on some extra layers of this green here. Maybe a bit more red in there. Heck, I could even throw 100% red in there. See, if I get it 100% red, you know, I'm like, oh no, it's too red, that's fine. I could just go over it one more time with some more green, and then it's going to get even darker. Some artists will do a whole painting with just the value. Yeah, look, I'm like outlining these random little leaves here that I drew down that don't even exist in the real thing, but it's like they kind of exist. And it looks like I've lost some green in there, so maybe I'll throw a little green where I think it needs to be. Maybe yellow. It was really wet.
You know, wait until it's time.
Probably should actually. I get carried away. I'm just like, I just want to keep working on it. This is pretty dry over here. Kind of bounce back and forth between like a drier area and a wetter area. teaches a lot of good lessons, like especially if you're like wanting to get into oil painting or acrylic with glazing. Watercolor and glazing are very similar, if not the same. And yeah, but it can be really beautiful. It sometimes it can be worth it. Some people love it. Yeah, some people like a challenge. Challenge just gives you more time to have fun until you get it right. You know? Whereas if it's too easy, then it's like you get it done in a day and you're like, that was easy, now what? It's good to have a bit of a challenge, I think.
More kids I don't know about Flash.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't really know much about it. It's too easy to use things like that.
yeah.
This time, like everything's always either oils or black.
Yeah. So when you're working with watercolors, uh, you'll never really get 100% of what the image will look like. It's always going to be a little bit faded, or it's going to be a little bit different. Now you're going to see here, this area is all dry now, and so these lines can be really sharp. This is where I can kind of get my second brush here, kind of blend out areas that I want to be soft. And again, I'm avoiding these little circles. That's where I'm going to have some flowers. It's a weird perspective, yeah. And that's the whole charm. I mean, it's like I kind of understand perspective here, but it's like at the same time it's not right. But it's like you can kind of embrace it and be like, okay, I'm okay with that. Yeah. I always had a bit of a curve to things. This here, I have some blues in there, and it's just kind of, that's it. that's just some blue. Okay, gotta blur my eyes more. See, when you're working with something so busy, it's really important to continue to take a step back and like look at it at a distance. Take breaks. There's all that red area. There's some green right on top. Oh boy. I'm getting too crazy with my paper here.
Can you bring it closer again so we can see?
Sure. I mean, I'm kind of bouncing around the whole thing. Let me see if I can just zoom in the page.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, the colors aren't really coming through. Just gotta say. In person. Let me quickly see if anyone's saying anything. Okay, cool. Oh no. So kind of trying to find those like layers where they overlap, you know. There's gonna be some shadows behind it. It's coming out, we'll see. We'll see. Uh-huh. There's a buzzing noise. I heard.